Well, Browning,
I'm here.
you want to give the intro?
Sure. Are we recording?
Yeah.
Oh. What exactly are we doing here?
We're sitting at a table in front
No,
of
I
some
mean,
mics.
like, what is,
How much did you eat?
a lot. Were you just telling, like, funny stories, or?
Yeah,
We'll just talk.
just talk. We're interesting people. People want to hear.
Was your bowl filled to the brim?
Okay. All right, ready?
Yeah.
Welcome to Beyond the Podium, and today we have two very special guests with us here today. One's my dad. The other one is our good friend, Joel Dondis. Y'all, thanks for being here. Joel, you drove a long way just for this podcast, didn't you?
Not too far.
Just kidding. He's here shooting with us. He's actually our very first client for Cypress Creek Lodge.
That's true.
Yeah.
First person to shoot on the unprepared grounds.
Yep, you are.
We were treading through the wheat and the ants today.
A few blackberry bushes,
Yeah, and some blueberries.
some bark,
Yeah. And a high-centered mule.
and a hustle.
Yeah, David got the mule stuck today.
We
Yeah.
should have taken a picture of that
Yeah, we should have.
And-
with logs under the wheels and
Yeah.
all the different
Literally,
things.
I had to sit in the driver's seat, and David high-centered it on a stump. I had to sit in the driver's seat, and Joel shoved sticks underneath the wheels and cardboard boxes, Target boxes, and then both of them were just picking up on the mule, trying to get it out while I hit the gas. And I eventually told David, I was like, David, you have to push and pick up. He said, oh, that's a good idea. And we
Sounds
finally
fun.
got it out.
Well, what happened was that.
That's exactly what happened. I just said what happened.
But here's the thing: I didn't really high center it, is because that the stump was hidden in all the mulch, and then the tires just dug holes and it kept sinking, and then high centered itself.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God we didn't put a clay bot
Yeah.
over one of those.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
It looked like y'all were having fun with those clay bots.
Oh boy! With the way with the path cut down, and then the trees growing up in the middle, and the way they come out of those trees,
It's cool.
That was great. Leaving you just maybe the top 40% to shoot.
Yeah, those clay bots are pretty. I mean, you can put as much effort as you want into setting targets and trying to be prepared, but I mean, you can change everything on the fly and go, and it's so practical for being able to practice or teach. You know.
Yeah, for teaching, it's I mean, it would be a great tool, because when you're shooting something and you see it and you think, man, if that was tweaked just a little bit,
Yeah.
well, you can just do it with
Yeah,
that.
just press a little button and you're good to go.
We probably shot, I think, 3 presentations, three different pairs within 30 minutes.
Yeah,
Because you got to one and you said, okay, we're good there. Let's go to the next one. And then
Yeah.
we're good there. Let's go to the next one. And then we were good there.
Could you imagine having to wheel those machines out there and then walking all the way back and then shooting the pairs, and your student being really good at those pairs, and they're like, all right, never mind, that's not going to work. You have to walk all the way back out there and switch them again. I mean,
Well, not only are we switching them, I mean, we're moving them. I moved the one 30 yards.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or you got to a pair and maybe it was a little too difficult.
Yeah.
And then you wanted to slow it down to find it.
Yeah.
And then you wanted to speed it back up
Yeah.
to where you really wanted to get to give yourself, maybe it's like a different rendition of gridding.
Mm-hmm.
The only
Target.
preparation you have to do is thinking of what targets you want to throw.
Yeah, you can do about anything.
Well, look, I guess maybe to the opposite of that is that you get out there and you get to a different position of where you're going to stand versus where the trap is, which gives you that perspective. And then you see the landscape in a different kind of way. And it keeps unfolding in the way that you want to use the landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty deep.
It was deep.
Steve. You're the landscape architect here.
I am.
You're the coach.
Yeah. I like to tease the Permetic guys when I get hired to set targets, and I always pick on them and say, I'm not a target setter, I'm a target sculptor.
What does Nick Sage say then?
Oh, he just gives me crap. Nick's a good guy.
Very.
So, Dad,
Yeah.
since we're on the topic of shooting, how was I as a child and you being my coach? Be nice.
Don't be nice, be honest.
Be nice.
Well, you were very, very strong-willed. That's a good way to put it, I think. No, we actually worked really good together all the way through her career up until she, got old enough to see what she was doing on her own. But a lot of times I would have to call another coach and say, hey, Kaylee's doing this. Will you tell her to move her hand here or turn her foot a little bit because she don't want to listen to me this week.
Yeah.
And so we'd make that call and send them a video, and they'd tell them exactly what I said, and then it was the perfect idea.
I think everybody goes through that.
But to give you one example.
Here we
excuse
go.
me, one example.
Don't forget, I have stories of you, too.
When she was about 8 or 9, Bill McGuire, y'all all know Bill McGuire.
Yeah.
He was up. We used to train together and travel a lot.
Before you tell the story,
I know what story
how
this
many
is.
times have you heard this story?
It's a great story.
Joel
Every
has not heard
time
it.
I
Joel
see
hasn't.
Bill, he tells this story.
Yeah.
But-
Well, it's funny.
Yeah.
So I had 2 machines in front of our house, throwing left to right and right to left with a lot of face. And in the evening, I would have her paint the targets different colors in the center. And I would set her up in perfect position, and I would make her call the color of the target before I would let her start her move to train her eyes to go to what she was shooting. So Bill was over, and we have her on the east side of the house, and she's just crushing target after target after target. A little girl, 8 or 9 years old. And she
She's
has
a
a
natural-born
391
athlete that
20
I am.
gauge. And she goes to the west side of the house, and she's hollering, pull. And we're throwing, and she'll hit 1 and miss 2. Hit 1 and miss 3. Miss 3 more. Hit 1. I said, Bill, go see what's going on, because I've got the buttons on this side of the house. So Bill is gone for a few minutes, and he comes back around, and he's just dying laughing. And he said, okay, first of all, she's okay.
Yeah.
He said, but the hitting and the missing was she's on the trampoline.
Yeah.
And when you call pull, she's jumping up and down trying to break the targets. So we had to have another course on gun safety. But that's kind of what we had to fight.
It got too easy.
Is that the trampoline that's in the back of the woods?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a famous trampoline.
it is. It's a famous trampoline.
I'd like to see you do that again.
I probably could.
But I thought we worked well together the whole time. We had our moments like any father and daughter will have, but as far as coach and student, it went pretty well.
Yeah.
I can ask a question.
Sure.
Kaylee, what were you thinking about when you were jumping up and down on the trampoline?
It was probably the kid in me. I was there, practicing. And then I got to go on my own to the other side of the house, and the trampoline was there. So I think just the kid came out, and it seemed like a good idea at the time. So it was fun. It made it a lot more fun.
Practicing that.
I'm kind of liking it.
Yeah.
It was
We're gonna put that into your training routine, Joel. You're gonna have to get a trampoline.
You
You
think
got the
about it,
robots.
I was getting physical exercise, mental exercise, training for the target. The target presentation was different about every second. It was up, down, up, down.
Were you trying
Maybe
to
that's
time it?
going to give just new meaning to that lead thing that David does,
Lead
where
reduction.
he jumps out at the targets.
Well, I saw that yesterday for the first time. That's wild.
That takes skill.
It takes something.
Stupidity.
That's more like it.
You couldn't miss, though.
No, he hit them
I'm
That
well.
was
telling
the
you.
craziest thing.
So here's a funny story about that. I was, I'm gonna refrain names from this, but I was driving up the west coast of the country 2 years ago, and there's this guy, kind of famous. Well, definitely famous in his industry, but if you're not in that industry, you wouldn't know who he was. But really nice guy, and invited me to see where he works, and I was gonna go take him shooting, and so we go shooting, and it was at a trap club, and so I'm shooting. It was just the two of us. Like, there's not that many people there. And every time I'm going to shoot, I see him just staring at me, like just staring me down, looking, and to the point where I'm like, this is a little weird. I don't understand. What's he looking for, you know? And so the whole time I could tell, I was like, well, maybe he's trying to learn something, you know? And so we shoot a few more rounds, and somebody said, okay, you want to go to dinner? So yeah, so we go to this Mexican restaurant, and we're sitting there. And he was new to shooting, and he goes, okay, so before we get anywhere, I got to ask you a question. I said, yeah. He goes, when you were shooting, I was trying really hard to watch you, and I didn't see you using lead reduction. And so I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I saw your video online, and if you don't know, I put a video up like as a joke in like 2014 about it was a total satire video, and a lot of people thought it was real.
You should look it up. It's funny.
Yeah, I think it's just called Lead Reduction, the intro or something like that. It's on YouTube, but if you search lead reduction, it's probably the first thing that shows up. I don't know if anybody else has that name, but anyways, sitting at dinner, and he goes, so I mean, I never saw you doing that. I was really looking, and he said, I've been trying to work on it. And he's like, I can't get it to work really good, but when I was watching you, I didn't see you doing it. So can you explain? And I looked at him and I said, you think that's real?
Did you feel bad?
I felt so bad. I mean, because the look on his face went from curious to embarrassed, you know, like, and so I just felt, I feel so bad, you know. So now I realize I gotta watch it when I'm playing jokes on people on the internet.
That's funny.
That's a mean story.
Huh?
That's mean.
It's funny. He took it in good stride, and then after that, every once in a while, he's joked about it. But I mean, everywhere I go, and especially when I coach over in Europe, they know it's a joke, but everyone wants to see me demonstrate it. And it's not that it works; it's just I've had to show how it works so many times. I've gotten good at it.
You were pretty good at it the other day.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to probably break it out against somebody at the shoot where you're slightly not so captivated. Right. You need to have a little bit of action.
Yeah, if you're going to shoot off with somebody.
And you're shooting left-handed too.
Yeah, I wasn't doing that yesterday, but oh man.
So, what's your most embarrassing thing that's happened at a shoot?
My most embarrassing thing?
Mm-hmm.
I gotta think about that.
Joel, do you have one? I know Dad's.
No,
what would mine be?
With Maradesso.
Yeah. Let's not call names.
What was that?
Yeah, what was that?
Okay. So I don't. This may turn your fan base. I'm not sure. So I was going to try bunker.
Yeah.
When Kayle first started.
Was this our first shoot, or like?
No, I think it was the second, maybe.
Yeah, within the first.
Yeah, maybe my first shoot. I don't know, but
two
anyway.
or three shoots ever that I've ever been
I had
to.
a little gas issue, and I'm on a full squad of girls, and I'm trying to be very respectful.
Yeah.
But it's getting harder and harder to do as the round continues. So I thought, what am I going to do? And I thought, I know what. I said, I'm just going to call pull.
Yeah,
and
time it perfectly.
as I shoot, just time it perfectly.
As any good shooter would do.
Yeah, exactly. Timing's everything. Yeah. So that's my plan.
Yeah.
And I follow through with that plan. And just as I let it go, there's no bird, not a chip, nothing to shoot at. And that's what the rest of the squad done, just like you're doing now.
Did it throw another target?
No. I was so embarrassed. I don't know what happened after that. But
it was a long one too.
Yeah.
There was no stopping it.
Oh, that's good.
I don't know if this is a story of goof. It's not really that goofy or anything, but if you're a young shooter or a new shooter, I thought it was pretty funny actually. So it was at the Browning Briley last year. I had never shot FITASC, and but I was like, I'm going to give it a try. And so I go to the parkour, and I didn't even really look to see a squad, how many people would be on a squad, anything of that nature.
Yeah.
And I show up, and it turns out it's just myself and another gentleman. And I walk over to introduce myself, and I know he was the shooter, but his vest says FITASC director.
Yeah. Oh.
So I immediately thought to myself, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? I was like, this is deep. And so I introduced myself. I said, hello, Mr. Vines. I said, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Joel Dondis, and so we start to talk for a little bit, and the referee comes over, and he's looking for the line, and I have no line, and he's starting to talk to me. And I looked at both of them, and I said, okay, I got to tell y'all right now, I've never shot FITASC before. This is my very first time. And Mr. Vines looked at me, and he said, really? I said, yes. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I'm really in for it. He says, no problem. He says, he's the nicest guy. Yeah. He's like, this is how it's going to work. And I was like, oh,
that's a great part of shooting.
Thank goodness. And,
yeah.
We went on that we had so much fun together. Yeah. And he made it great. He really did. He took me under his wing. And I was really nervous. I was thinking that, oh gosh, this gentleman's going to be very serious, and I'm going to mess up his day or something. And he was just the coolest guy. And we went on to shoot 28 gauge together after we said, oh, let's go have lunch together. And then he says, oh, are you going to shoot 28 gauge? I was like, why not? Let's go shoot 28 gauge. That made my event.
That's cool.
It was awesome.
He could have made or broke shooting for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
You had a hard time getting that one out, didn't you?
I'm still not quite sure how to say it.
He could have.
Because it's like past, like broke, so it can't be make or break. Yeah.
Make a break.
Make a break. That's a fun game.
Yeah. I think I know my most embarrassing moment.
All right, let's hear it.
So it happened, and this kind of ties into our podcast about the mental game. But after I won that U.S. Open when I was really young, I didn't really know how to handle wins. And I also expected to win every time I showed up. So if that's the case, as a 16-year-old kid, you get frustrated when you're not. And I was immature at the time, but I was shooting FITASC, and it was at M&M. I don't remember what shoot this was, but it was an important shoot. This is 10 years ago, 2010, and I was shooting terrible, like absolutely terrible. I think I had zeroed all the singles on the first peg, and so I got mad, and I threw my hulls. And no, this was on the last peg because the next squad was waiting for us. So I got mad and threw my hulls as far as you can, which is something totally unexcusable. And the ref there, he stopped the shoot, and he put his clipboard down, and he said, "Sir?" I was like, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "I'm going to have to ask you to go pick those up, because if you don't, I'm going to have to, and I didn't throw them out there." And so I said, "Yes, sir." And so I walk out there, and at the time, I think I was shooting. I didn't have a shell sponsor, and we couldn't get game boards at the time, but I was shooting red Winchester shells. And so here I am, a colorblind 16-year-old kid walking 30 yards in front of the FITASC cloud trying to find red shells in the grass.
After you just had a temper tantrum.
After I just had a temper tantrum, and I got 2 squads waiting on me to continue shooting, and I couldn't find them. I was walking around there for 15 minutes. And so it was the most embarrassing moment. It was funny. It's funny looking back on it, but it was also, I think, a really good defining moment because it was so embarrassing to me.
Yeah, he taught you a good lesson.
A great lesson.
Yeah.
And every time I see that guy, he was a kid at the time, but every time that I see him, I thank him. And I actually use that example. I talk about it at the youth clinics that I do. But that was a good lesson and embarrassing.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever had a problem throwing holes.
No, you didn't actually. You know,
I don't think I ever had really an attitude problem until I was by myself.
Well,
Till about now.
I wouldn't say
Yeah,
you
till about-
didn't have an
till about
attitude
this
problem.
year.
Maybe not on the course, but
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I was always very presentable, I think, at shoots.
I think you were too. You know, as of, I had the privilege of being a father and a coach, and there are some defining moments in those. Obviously, as a coach, when you see them reach a milestone, a student, and I'm sure you feel the same way. It's very gratifying.
Yeah.
As a father, it may be something totally different. You know, as Kayle just made the Olympics, that was obviously a very proud moment. But one of the moments that sticks out in my mind is when she was very young, and a young master class shooter, about 16, very good shooter, threw his hull similar to what you done. And she just
Was it me?
No, it wasn't you. It wasn't you. But she just very quietly went up to him and said, master class shooters don't throw their hulls.
Yeah.
And that was it. And that was a very defining moment too.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's not always the win that a father is proud of.
Right.
Or a coach, you know.
What can I say?
Well, you could talk about the time you got a spanking on the course.
Oh, yeah, let's hear about that.
I don't want to talk about that one.
'Cause
It's funnier
that
when
was
you
the
tell it.
attitude part.
Well, everybody has to have attitude adjustments.
Yeah, I agree with that. So should I tell that story?
Yeah, do
I
it.
mean, you've already brought it up, so now if you don't tell it, we're just going to get messages asking about the story.
Yeah,
My
so
ears are peaked.
I feel like Joel needs to know this.
I believe in spanking,
Yeah.
but it was very minimum, only a few times ever.
Like I can count on my hand the times I got a spanking. Not because I didn't deserve them all the time, but you
Yeah.
only got a spanking if you really messed up.
Yeah.
So we
Really
were at the
messed up.
Really
Missouri
messed up.
State shoot, sporting clay shoot, and we had some friends shooting with us. And can I say their names?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can say their names. Parker and Taylor Hutchison.
Yeah.
And Wesley Wilcox. And myself and Kayle. We had a 5-person squad, all good shooters. And we go to the first station, and the trapper, he reads off the order, and we proceed to shoot. And it's a relatively easy pair. We all run it. Kaylee's the last shooter. She hits 2. I'm like, wow, I wonder what that was. So we go to the second station, and it's a pretty easy pair. And most everyone runs it, and she hits 1. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm trying to get behind her and look over her shoulder and, see what the issues are. So we go to the third station. And at the third station, she actually zeroes that station. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? I don't really see anything wrong. So I look over in the golf cart, and she's over there crying, tears coming down her face. And I thought, man, she feels so bad. I'm going to go over and do the comforting thing for a minute, So I go over and I said, can you tell what's wrong, Kayle? I said, I want to help you. She said, yes, I wanted to shoot after Parker, not before him. And I said, wait a minute, what? That's not the order I wanted to shoot in. And I said, are you kidding me? So I proceeded to cut a switch, and we didn't miss any more the rest of the deal. So I probably should have just done that first.
I got whooped in front of everybody. The
You
whole
needed-
squad. There was
Were
like
you-
a squad that how sometimes they get backed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was 3 squads backed up. We were right there. I mean, I got whooped in front of.
So
30
anyway,
people.
it costs a lot of money to shoot those,
Yeah.
regardless of the order.
Were you just throwing it?
What?
Yeah, just throwing a temper tantrum.
Yeah, I was upset. We had an order we shot in every single shoot, and for some reason, they switched it up, and that's not how we did it.
So there you go.
Not worth shooting then.
That was a good lesson in
No.
being adaptive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned that quick.
Oh man. Jill, do you have any funny stories about, like, can funny stuff happen in
Why don't you tell who Joel is first? We never really gave him an introduction.
Well, we're gonna have him. Well, I guess this one's
I know.
gonna be out tomorrow, and then
Yeah, so I mean, they know who he is, like who exactly we're talking with.
yeah, they should probably know that.
Yeah. Joel, by the way, just cooked us a fantastic dinner. He's from
Holy mackerel!
3 days in a
Louisiana.
row.
Yeah, and cooked us some Cajun style gumbo tonight, and it was, man.
Everything he's cooked has been great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's cooked.
I
three-
haven't liked any of it, and it's been wonderful.
My favorite has been the cinnamon rolls.
Oh yeah.
Kaylee's grandmother's cinnamon rolls.
Yep.
They were
That
really
we,
good.
we were like, how mischievous can we get? We're like, oh no, let's caramelize both sides of the cinnamon rolls, like caramelize the icing and make it like all crackly and everything. And then we were like, where's the ice cream?
It was
Yeah.
And then we put ice
So-
cream on top.
Joel
And then
took.
we're sitting around the table, and when everybody's looking at everybody like,
Man.
don't even look at my bowl because I'll stab you.
Yeah. Joel took my grandma's homemade cinnamon rolls, put a stick of butter in a pan, put them in the pan, and like caramelized the frosting on it. And it was like, he called it cinnamon roll creme brulee. We put ice cream on it. It's the best thing you've made yet. And it was like a spur of the moment thing.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah, that was good.
This is not kidding. When I think of my top 5 favorite things that I've eaten,
This week?
no, period. I can't tell you in order. What? Joel might judge me for this, but one of them is the pineapple and ice cream dessert that you made in Louisiana.
Black pepper pineapple.
Yeah,
And Tom C was like, he's like, I don't know about this.
the look
On his face.
The look on Tom's face, he's a giant piece of pineapple covered with ice cream and a pepper, and he was like, what am I supposed to do with it?
No, his next response was one of the best. He's like, when are you going to serve me something I've seen before?
Never.
The fish the other night.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my
that was
goodness.
good.
It was
Thanks.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
If y'all haven't gathered it by now, Joel is a chef.
Another one of my top favorite was the crab beignets at your restaurant.
At La Petite Grocery.
Yeah.
Oh, no, the quail. Remember the quail? The
Oh, yeah.
The quail eggs.
yes, quail eggs. Those were good.
Those were tasty. Those are. Justin, my chef partner in that restaurant, operator, he's pretty talented.
Yeah.
You learning from everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like from Justin invented those crab meat beignets.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh man.
I haven't been around Joel, and you will take things that I don't like onions, for example, or green peppers, and make them to where I like them.
I haven't liked an ingredient yet.
Yeah,
And it's been 3 of the best dishes I've ever had.
yeah,
in my entire life.
90% of the ingredients that you use, I completely avoid, and they've been delicious.
Wonderful. I mean,
Well,
just great.
I've been surprised with David. David today, he was. I was like, "Where are we gonna eat lunch?" Because I'm always thinking about food, and it is true. And if you really know me, you would know that you never see me without. There's something in my bag.
Yeah.
Even if it's a peanut ball, something. There is something in my bag. There will be food near me. And it's kind of like if you said, "Oh, do you have a fear of anything?" My fear would be that I'm not going to have something to eat in 3 or 4 hours. That's the truth. It's the
That's
truth.
me.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
That's my like. So we come in from shooting, and I have no idea of what we're going to have, and so we are hungry. It's like one something. It says David says, "Oh well, I have this Cajun turkey. It's Cajun turkey, right?
Cajun turkey, yeah.
And I said, okay, what else we got? What else do you have?
I got a refrigerator full of
And I
Cajun
said,
turkey.
I,
Let
said,
me
I
go
have
get some-
espresso cheese.
Espresso cheese. I'm like, okay.
He's like, I've never
I do
even
like
heard of
espresso,
such.
but I've never heard espresso cheese. I'm like, this sounds, and I have to say, I just was sitting there quiet.
It's good.
You
I
I
was sitting
know.
there quiet, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a try. It was actually,
good.
it was actually pretty good.
It's really good.
It's
Yeah.
pretty good.
I snack on it.
But I wasn't seeing a meal in
Espresso
and
cheese
espresso
and Cajun
cheese
turkey.
and Cajun turkey. And then there was kale from the garden,
Mhm.
and then you
And-
broke out the chipotle mayonnaise
And 4-week-old bread.
and the 4-week-old bread. I'm like, okay. I'm like, we
I'm
gotta
gonna
do
have a
something here. I
challenge.
mean, it's like there's either a kale salad with shredded Cajun turkey and croutons,
Yeah.
Which we eat a
And
lot.
Homemade
Chipotle-
croutons could have been good.
chipotle dressing,
Mhm.
because you could have made that into a dressing.
Yeah.
So thinking of a different meal from the same ingredients, right? With shredded cheese.
Yeah.
And we're like, it's feeling like a melt kind of day.
Yeah.
So
That
we
was a good
wilted
call.
we wilted the kale
Mm-hmm.
and finished it with a little bit of balsamic vinegar so it'd have a little edge to it. And then we put the chipotle mayonnaise with some Dijon mustard on the bread, on both pieces of bread, and then kind of piled up the Cajun turkey, and then shredded the cheese over the turkey so that you didn't have a slab of cheese, because you know the cheese would melt and you have a slab and it gets slick, and nothing. If you grate it, then the cheese will melt into the meat differently.
I'm
Right?
just used to the one on a quarter pounder.
And different on a hamburger.
Different cheese,
Different on a
yeah.
hamburger.
All right.
And so then we had the wilted kale
Yeah. On top of the cheese.
on top of the cheese, and then we made a melt with that, crisped up put the pan on the fire,
Mm.
was
so good.
I just ate
had
and I'm
some
getting
butter
hungry again.
across the pan, toasted the bread and the butter,
Oh.
and we had no idea until we took it out.
It was a great sandwich.
And we
The
cut
thing
we
is,
cut
is
it.
like, I
and this
did
was
not
the funny.
know.
Well, wait a second now, Miss Browning, because
Yeah,
we
you stole
asked
half my
you if
sandwich.
you wanted some to begin with, and you were like, no, I got my salad. I'm gonna come over here. And then
I was
all of a
trying to be
sudden, we make
healthy.
the sandwich, and David's like, oh, and Kelly's like, David, can I have a bite?
Can everybody?
Can I have a bite? Like very undertone, right?
Real quick.
And David goes over there to give you a bite, and you almost took his fingers off. And this is not an exaggeration.
'Cause I
And
know-
David says, God, that's a big bite.
I know if I don't take advantage right there, I know there's not going to be a second bite for me.
You know me too well.
Yeah, I know. You saw how fast he ate it.
Well,
Yeah.
he finished half a sandwich, and I mean a whole sandwich, and I just started my second half.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned my lesson. If I want to bite and I try it and I like it, and I go back to what I'm eating, if I wait too long, it's gone. And by
Ain't gonna
too
be anything
long,
left.
I mean
I have to say we
less
lucked
than
out.
a minute.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
lucked out. But funny moments,
Yeah.
and it's in a shoot.
No, in the restaurant cooking.
Oh gosh, in the restaurant cooking. Oh man,
Joel
Minnie.
has a way of looking in
Oh,
my
man.
refrigerator. Like today, if I would have looked in the refrigerator, I'd say we have nothing to eat.
Yeah.
But Joel looks in there, and he can take Cajun turkey, espresso cheese, and kale.
And stale bread.
And stale bread, nasty stale bread, and turn it into a gourmet sandwich.
You have to toast stale bread.
Yeah.
Yeah, like croutons. What are croutons? Stale bread.
I
Casserole.
love homemade croutons.
Fantastic.
Oh,
Mm.
so funny moments. Yes. I'm going to work in Germany, or I'm after cooking school. I went to Germany. Didn't speak a lick of German, but that's where I got placed, and I worked at the Schloss Hotel in Kronberg, which was the old home of the Kaiser Wilhelm. It was his summer home. It was this very special place. All of the venison, all the game was shot. We cooked by the season and everything. And on one of my first days, I walk in one of the walk-in coolers, and there's this vat of, it's like yellow and orange and green and all this cool looking stuff. And in the chef world, you always taste you taste stuff. You put your finger in there and you're gonna taste it.
If there's a vat of yellow, orange, and green, I don't think I would have
Oh,
stopped.
but it looked good. Like I don't know. It looked very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And I put my finger in there and I should have smelled it first. Go to taste it. I'm like, oh God. It was the vat that they're making the salmon gravlax in.
Oh.
So it's the salmon. It's the salt and sugar and oranges and I mean the most delicious cure you've ever tasted.
Yeah.
But not in tablespoon size necessarily. So I was like, oh God, I think maybe I smell that next time.
Then did you look to see if anybody was watching?
No, I was in the walk-in cooler by myself. It's like, I don't know. Funny thing, I guess all kinds of.
Then you told me a story one time, something about when you were foraging for mushrooms or something, and they tricked you.
They tricked me.
They told you to go get a mushroom, a certain.
Oh, the Brennnessel. Oh, yes, that is at the same place. So, Brennnessel is an herb, kind of but it more like grows wild. Like if rosemary was to grow wild, like blackberry bushes grow wild out here, right? So Brennnessel grows wild, and they use it in a sauce that's served on braised meat. It's called Frankfurter Grüne Soße, and it's very good. It's kind of spicy and tangy. And they said, oh, we need you to go out and pick the Brennnessel. And they showed me what it was. And I go out and I'm picking the Brennnessel. And the royal family of the property, they still live there. And the Prince and Princess Landgraf von Hessen are walking down the path, and they asked me what I'm doing. And I said that I'm picking the Brennnessel, and they looked at me. They kind of stared at me, and they looked at, and I didn't know what was, and I didn't speak German really, but to say that, and they kept on going, and so it was about halfway into the bowl of picking it, and all of a sudden my hands are just on fire. I mean, like literally, like I just stuck them in a bowl of jalapenos and they've been marinating or something. I mean, really on fire. I'm like, God, what's going on? So I run back in the kitchen and the whole kitchen brigade is standing there waiting for me, cracking up laughing. That was my initiation. That was my initiation. So yes, so when you pick the Brennnessel, you've got to wear gloves because it has this kind of fiery, nummy, spicy feeling to it. Yet you can put it in a sauce and eat it, and it doesn't bother you.
So those royals just thought you were crazy.
They thought
they
I was
like,
crazy.
This American, like,
They
what
did.
is he doing?
They probably knew he was a new guy.
Probably.
They did.
They probably see that, every time they have a school there.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's initiation time.
I was young.
Yeah.
I don't know, like 19, 20. That was a great time.
That's cool. So, how? Well, I'll save questions like that for when we interview him. I had some good questions.
Yeah.
Well, not only is he a good cook, he looked like he was shooting pretty well yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I've found that if you talk to, if I'm wrong, Joel, tell me. But I don't really think that, if you're a really good cook and you're cooking in a really good restaurant, you have to. There's an element of, I guess if you're doing it right, there's probably not, but I'd assume there's some level of chaos in you have to be able to work under high intensity moments, right? Or no?
Yep.
Yeah, like the timing of everything and then also, from listening to your stories about learning your craft, through your whole life, I mean, you also have to know what hard work is, and you have to be able to take, your learned experience, and if you're going to try to master something else, it helps to be able to have an understanding of getting to the pinnacle of something else, that you've done in your life. And so you can see in the way that you approach shooting that you've been extremely good at something else in your life, because you know how to attack something and not waste any time. And so that's
Thanks.
why, you've been shooting for basically when the first time you shot was 2 years ago, right?
The first was a charity shoot in May of 2018, and then I was shooting like a 20 gauge 686 Onyx, and I didn't even know. I just didn't know what I was. If I kind of liked it. I had a great time, and I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. And so then over that summer, I shot a little bit more, but I was traveling a good bit, and so then and everybody was like, oh, you got to get a real gun. You have to get a real gun. I was like, I don't even know what a real. I didn't. I mean, I know I have a duck gun.
I thought I had a real gun.
I have an A400. I knew it a duck, and so
I
then,
this
but
thing
in
shoots
August,
bullets.
of that year,
Yeah.
I ended up finding a more proficient gun.
Yeah.
And then I started shooting, and so I started really shooting in August of 2018, and my first real tournament was the national championship.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun.
Jumping in the fire.
That was an eye opener. That was crazy. But I was to what you were saying about processing and learning. I was mentioning to Tommy, I think it was yesterday or something, how my first chef, you dare not ask him why, really. That was not that he was an old school guy, but I used to have to whip the cream, the whipping cream.
Yeah.
I used to have to whip it by hand, and I was on the shorter side, and so the bowl needed to be below me, otherwise your arm is going to like drop off if it's above your, and so I'd have to put it in the sink. But yet, if you looked 4 feet over or 5 feet over, right over there on the next table, there was a mixer. And I would look at that mixer, and I'd be like, my arm is killing me. I was like, 13 or 14 years old. And so, but I realized after all that time, what he wanted me to understand is the process that something went through.
Yeah.
So like to really because whipping, if you're going to make really good whipped cream,
Yeah.
the sugar has to go in at a very specific time. So it can't be too soft, and it can't be more towards the finished stage, because then you'll have made butter and the sugar will not have dissolved.
Wow.
And that happens very quick. It almost happens as quickly as you're going to burn sugar or anything else in cooking, like you're going to overcook something. And so I would say that, if I looked across the kitchen today and I saw the cream being whipped, I could, from 10 feet away or more, I could probably tell you what stage it's in and when to do what.
Yeah.
Or whether I hear something cooking or whatever the case is. So you become, all of a sudden, you become so attuned to all of these other things that you're doing, where you could be doing one thing, but you could smell or hear 4 or 5 other things and see something across the kitchen, and all of a sudden you have, I guess, a good grasp on how things are going to turn out.
Yeah.
So cooking in that way is very multidisciplinary, and you need to have all of your senses really paying attention. I don't think it's much different in shooting, right?
Yeah,
Right.
sounds the same.
And you're paying attention, and you have timing going on all of these different things, and you're processing that, and then in kind of bringing them together all within a certain stage, just like you're I guess rolling from, shooting one target in a report pair versus a true pair.
Right.
It's that timing is going to be.
We were talking yesterday about seeing everything as you're shooting.
Seeing everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kinda what you
Using
just
all
described.
your senses.
Yeah.
That is cool. So your first tournament was the Nationals. Was
Yes.
your first tournament the U.S. Open?
It was. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one in Branson, Missouri.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that was a 2002? No, that was earlier.
Either 90. I thought it was 94. I think the book says it's 95, but I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
anyways, 94 or 95. I think it was 94. But yeah, that was my first shoot as a C-class shooter.
Yeah.
The-
How did you get C-class first shoot?
well, I didn't have any targets.
Oh, so you...
Yeah,
I
so I
got
had
you.
to shoot a penalty.
Yeah.
And I finished ninth, I believe, in C-class.
Yeah.
And was just almost positive that me or my buddy Andy Miller one was going to win it. That was both of our first shoot. I wasn't sure if it was going to be me or him, but
Yeah.
obviously we found out different. But it was a lot of fun, and through my whole career shooting, I had a pretty successful career. Won a lot of stuff, but it was the relationships and the people that I met.
Yeah.
I still have friends today. Your coach, Wendell Cherry,
Yeah.
I talk to him every week almost.
Right.
Most of the time he's telling me about how bad I am on guitar, but I still talk to him.
Yeah.
But I made a lot of good friendships through shooting that, I have my whole life.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
I remember those more than I remember certain victories for sure. But,
Right.
But, you never forget those friends.
Yeah. That's 100% true. Kaylee, you look real excited over there.
I'm in a food coma.
I thought I was, and then Joel started talking about that sandwich again. I got
know.
hungry.
Then I even, if he would have had it here, I probably would have ate some.
Yeah. So what was your first tournament like?
I don't remember my very first one.
Your first tournament was in Illinois at Wren Lake. And we'd take both shots at one target. We'd pick the easiest one of the pair.
Yeah.
We didn't worry about score or whatever. And that's just the way we approached it.
Yeah.
All the way through, we would...
Well, that's really cool.
yeah, if it was a pair that she had a good fair chance at, she'd shoot both. But if it had a tougher bird, we'd just pick the easy one. If she broke it the first time, she could sling it the second one. But, if not, we'd shoot it twice and go
What a
home.
great way to take the pressure off and just to...
There was no pressure.
Just enjoy being out there
Yeah.
and actually making a shot at a tournament.
Yeah.
And then because you know that one day you will shoot that pair and you will come into it.
Yeah,
But-
and she, she'd done that, and she made. I would think you would say that you made a lot of good friends too. Obviously, one sitting across the table from
Right.
you here, but I think those things. I think it's important to get our youth shooting.
Oh, 100%.
Arkansas has a great youth shooting program, but it's those things that teach them not only the love of the game, but the respect for firearms, and those are future voters and politicians and all the things that the type of people we need to like that thing.
Yeah.
That's what drew me. One of the biggest, I guess, aspects that drew me into the sport was first the people.
Yeah.
I went home and I told my wife, I was like, Gretchen, I really enjoy the fact that people from all kinds of socioeconomic backgrounds and just, but it's a wonderful conservative environment with people that have a respect. There's a respect there.
Yeah.
I think so
And
too.
you go to a tournament and it feels like about the safest place in America.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really does. It really does. And I said, Gretchen, you could go to a tournament and you could put your purse on the table and no one would ever touch your purse.
Yeah.
Kaylee proved that.
and
She's
you
left
meet
her
people,
gun in the rack before.
I'm
all
sorry?
night.
Yeah, I used to leave my gun everywhere. on
I
the
know,
course.
you
Yeah,
guys have
Random
been in the
golf
sport
carts.
forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here I am. I'm like, wow. I mean, everyone is so nice, and the environment is just so good. And then there's the competitive aspect. There's the challenge in the whole bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Those are the things that I really enjoyed. And the people. I've met so many good people.
Yeah.
Made so many new friends.
I'm not directing this, but I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
What did it feel like when you won the World FITASC? When after you fired the last shot, and you completely realize I've just won the World FITASC.
Yeah. You ever watch the Super Bowl? And I know it's half staged, but they put the microphone in somebody's face and they say, "What does it feel like to be the world, Super Bowl champion?" And they always say, "Exactly like I thought it would," because they, in their mind, it kind of already happened before it did.
Right.
So, Saturday night before the shoot was over, I mean, I can call my mom and ask her. I looked at the scores and I said, I won. I was like, I just won the world championship. And she goes, but you still got to shoot tomorrow. And I said, but I won.
Yeah.
And so I already knew. And from that moment until my first shot the next day was the feeling that I think that everybody thinks you feel after, because like the best way I can explain it or equate it to any feeling is when you're a little kid and it's December 24th.
Yeah.
And you can't go to sleep.
Yeah.
Because you're so excited for tomorrow to come, because you don't know what you're going to get, but you know it's going to be good. And so like I couldn't fall asleep. I wasn't worried at night. Like I wasn't scared of losing. I was really like, I can't wait for tomorrow to be over, because it's going to be the coolest thing that ever happened. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't go to sleep. When I woke up in the morning, I literally wanted to skip breakfast. And I'm serious on my routines when I'm shooting. Like, I mean, I do everything by the book. And I wanted to skip eating, which I knew was important, nutrition-wise, energy-wise. Wanted to skip it, go out and shoot. And then when I went to go, it was just pure excitement. But then also, the closer I got to the moment of the first shot on Sunday, the more that excitement turned to nervousness.
Right. Yeah.
And then it became only nervousness. But then as soon as I took my first shot, it was very calming and relaxing, which was strange. But then my last shot of the day, and we have it on film, it was like boring. I think because I'd just been so excited about it the day before. When it was over, it was more relief than excitement. I didn't get all freaked out. I wasn't, fist pumping and stuff like that. I just took my shells out of my gun and underhand tossed them in the garbage and turned around and walked out. And
that's a pretty cool way to do it, though. I mean,
yeah,
you saw it come full circle.
Yeah.
And I suppose yours was the same way. What happened when you realized you made the 2020 Olympic team? Just right at that moment when you got done with the math and you realized that you'd won.
I don't think that it had sunk in until like that night. I don't think it actually sunk in because I've always been really close to making it, so I was almost expecting there to be something that happened with somebody kept score wrong or something. So I don't think it sunk in until that night, and they had posted the scores and it said Olympian by my name.
Yeah. What I was wanting to get out of that from what we was talking about earlier is both of you started pretty young shooting. Did you think about any of those shoots that you were at when you were young, that day or during the event or right after?
No, I was only thinking about what I had to do.
When it was over, not during the round, but when it was over, it was weird because it was so much less exciting than I thought it was going to be, but it was so much more valuable than I thought it was going to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like I didn't freak out, but when it really hit me was when I was on the podium and I turn around and they start playing the national anthem and I see my flag and the Hungarian flag and the Spanish flag going up, and mine's in the middle and on the top.
Yeah, that's cool.
And they're playing my national anthem, and then it was like, whoa,
Yeah.
I'm at the top of the world,
Yeah.
so obviously you call your parents, or I called my dad and my mom was there, but I called Wendell, and exactly what you said. That's kind of when you start thinking about, there's no way that this would have happened if it wasn't for all the failures or all those fun experiences. Like things just run through your mind. I remember the first time that I won a major shoot, my first major that I ever won. I called Wendell up on the podium or whatever, the stage, and I gave him the trophy. And because it's not what happens right then. It's the 20 years before.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's what, like, to watch Kayle. I get more emotional, like watching somebody that I care about accomplish something like that, especially someone like you, where for your whole shooting career, I listened to you talk about how much you want that and then not make it, and but then to see you do it and then turn around and be crying,
You were more emotional than I was.
You were pretty emotional.
Yeah, you're emotional.
Yeah, but the
We have the
emotion part
picture
of
to
it
prove it.
faded off pretty quick, like the tears and the crying and stuff. But you were a lot more emotional all day than I was.
I think he and I both were pretty emotional.
The first shoot you went to watch me, you couldn't even watch it. You got so nervous.
It's a lot harder to watch.
It's so much harder.
I mean,
Well,
I
after
was
all
in some pretty serious shoot-offs for, some major things.
Yeah.
I'm way more nervous watching her.
Yeah.
After all those years you guys have put in, that's really informing those emotions.
Yeah.
Because you know the hard work.
Yeah.
And the kind of like bucket list opportunities that those are. Those are extremely rare.
Yeah.
And sometimes we think about them, we're like, oh, win that championship. Yeah, those are really rare. Or be on a team like that.
Yeah.
I mean, how many,
Yeah.
And until you actually get out there and do that hard work and spend all those hours and all that time, and the saying goes, 99% of the fun is getting there. And I often think in that way when I'm make a dish or I'm at my last bite. I'm like, oh, I was saying that tonight. When I finish this last bite, I'm gonna be sad because I liked it so much. But 99 and really, so much of the fun was actually preparing it with you, Tommy.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was
I appreciate
fun,
you showing me that.
It would not mean
Yeah.
nearly as much
Mm.
if it was so easy.
Well, that's the thing.
And we know that. This
Yeah.
is kind of this is this. You know that.
Yeah.
This.
When you do accomplish something like that, I think for me, why I feel like it was almost underwhelming was because I literally worked at that time 17 years to get that, and you go 17 years of a of a 25-year-old life, and working for one thing, and then you finally accomplish it. And only when I accomplished it, I realized it wasn't about that one thing. It was about the other 17 years.
The journey.
Yeah. And it's like, well, yeah, this is just a trophy.
Yeah.
You know.
We're talking about having fun on the journey. Did you ever see anybody have more fun than John Kruger? I mean, he had fun.
Or be in more danger.
Oh yeah, you know, and John was a wonderful shot. Probably one. I don't know. He probably still holds records. I don't know, but
yeah.
But he always had a good time.
I have known John Kruger longer than any other pro shooter.
Yeah.
And for my first tournament ever, I met him when I was 8 years old, and have always been a huge fan. And John tried to help me a lot through my career, but that guy, number one, he's hilarious. 2, he's an amazing shooter.
Yeah.
3, I mean, he can.
He's crazy.
Just don't drive in a vehicle with him.
I learned that pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I remember one time we were at the SCA. I don't know if you remember the SCA Nationals.
No, I never went to that.
Yeah, there was 2 organizations, and we were at the SCA National Championship. And he and I and Bill McGuire were squatted together. And I don't know if you've ever been to Branson, but on Highway 76 in the evening, it gets backed up for miles with traffic. And it's so hot. It's July or August. And my wife has a brand new white SUV.
Oh.
Nice. And John's
don't tell me you let him drive.
John he's in front of us in his vehicle, Bill's driving. And he takes, it must have been a half a gallon of orange soda. I don't know how much it was, but it was a bunch. And he throws it over right on the hood of my wife's car. And we're just sitting there, and it just dries all over it. And he just thought that was the funniest thing in the world. But he always had fun like that.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere he went. He had more fun watching me wash it off the next morning. But
That sounds like John.
yeah, exactly like him.
What's that story of the guy you worked with that thought he was in a construction zone?
Are you talking about with John?
No.
Oh, Robbie?
Yeah.
Robbie B.
This is
I don't know. Does Robbie listen to this? I don't know if he does or
Well,
not.
you don't have to say his full name.
Oh, okay. Well, I already have. So. That don't really have anything to do with shooting. Although he did shoot.
Yeah, he shot, but
He
it doesn't
did
have to do with shooting. But
So he talked in his sleep really bad. And he had just gotten married. And he and his wife, the first week or so, were in bed. And he stands up and starts pretending like he's blowing a whistle. And she grabs him to wake him up, starts shaking him. And he just takes his fist and hits her right square in the nose, breaks her nose, and says, "This is a hard hat zone. You put your hard hat on." Hard hat on. Yeah, I know. It's.
didn't there when y'all were all rooming together?
Yeah, I was rooming with him at the zone shoot in Oklahoma one time that Doug Fuller was putting on. And he just got up in the middle of the night and walked to the window, and he said, "Hey, Tom, here they come. Here they come." It's 2:00 in the morning. I'm like, "Here, who comes?" He's like, "They're getting close. Here they come." And then he just goes back over and gets in bed, So I hope he's listening to this.
I bet you went to sleep real good that night.
Yeah, I didn't sleep anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was more afraid of who was coming to the room or him. But anyway. But that was the fun part of shooting. We got to
traveling around.
Yeah, traveling with different guys. I remember the first time I met you, was I was shooting FTASC at I think it might have been the Gamil Cup. It was a shoot at Nashville.
Yeah, it probably was.
I don't know how old you were, but 12 or 13 or 14, I don't know. Pretty young. And I had shot really well, maybe 93 or 4 on the FTASC, which was a good score.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going back to the clubhouse, and I'm thinking, I might have won that. I didn't let much get away. And they said this Radulovich kid had just shot a 98, I believe. I don't know if you remember that.
What it was.
Yeah, but it was a really great score. And I said, "Who?" And he said, "Yeah, he's like 12 or something." I thought, well, boy, I really done good then. Didn't I? Got beat by a 12-year-old.
So Tommy, given your long history, and you've seen so much, and you've had so much fun in this sport, and especially some really cool wins, what would be a win that for you was maybe tough, but and exciting, and just indifferent from the rest, and why?
Well, I think I won our state shoot several times. I won the SCA Nationals and some other national titles, but the one that I remember the most was at Claythorne Lodge in Kansas. Was a White Flower Cup, which was a pretty prestigious shoot at the time.
Yeah, but for people listening now, where your filter and reference point is going to be the big shoots are the regionals, nationals, U.S. Open, and World Championship. Back then, there were a lot more signature shoots and stuff like the White Flower Cup, the Fiocchi Cup, there were some other big ones they were bigger than regionals now. I mean, some of them, there was that one in Wisconsin had like 700 people every year.
Yeah, Wren Valley maybe?
Yeah.
It was a big shoot. Yeah.
So, but the White Flower Cup was huge.
It was, and it was prestigious because they had a big, huge eagle trophy in the clubhouse, and you got a smaller one like it. But what I liked about it is I won the prelim, main event, and the 5-stand. And Kayle won all three in the ladies.
That's cool.
So I remember that a lot, yeah. And you were only, maybe 12, 13? 12, 13?
Okay, a follow-up question. If there was a moment in a tournament, big tournament, smaller tournament, but there was a moment where you felt you really tested, like it was super tough. Walk me through that moment in that shoot.
So one thing that sticks out in my mind was at Kentucky,
Elk Creek.
Elk Creek.
Yeah.
And this was a charity shoot. Wasn't super difficult targets, but there were some difficult stations. And I had shot a 99 the first day. And Wendell shot 100 straight. Yeah. And I went up to Wendell and I told him, I said, I'm going to shoot 100 straight tomorrow. So you better shoot at least a 99. Well, through that day, long story short, I did shoot 100 straight. But the last target, the very last target, come out broken. It was kind of a little chandelle. And I hit it, and everybody was cheering, and I knew that I had to shoot it again. You know, I was not going to end my 100 straight on a what if.
Right.
Yeah. So I reshot that, and there was a little pressure there. But I remember that being something that I said I was going to do, and I walked out and done, and that was pretty gratifying. And by the way, Wendell shot a 99. We wound up tied, and he beat me to shoot off. But the other one that comes to mind was I won the 5-stand at the Nationals one year with a 98. And a 95 had led most of the week, and another good shooter shot 97 on Saturday. And I had to shoot it Sunday morning, pouring down rain, 8 o'clock. You know how dark it is in San Antonio.
And
at 8
cold.
o'clock. And cold and rain. And I told that other shooter that shot 97 that I was going to shoot a 98 and beat him, and I walked out and shot 98 and beat him. And nothing against him; he's a great shooter. But I think any time that you say you're going to do something, and you go out and you make it happen, it's pretty gratifying.
Well, you just brought up a big point, because there are people who I hear sometimes, I wouldn't never think about a score. I don't want to think about the pressure of that. And
it's always there. You might as well face it.
Yeah.
Yep. David and I were talking about some of that today, and I said idiosyncrasies. I would rather be face to face with whatever they are, and not be in that position of, I don't want to know about a score. I don't care about a score. Well, you know what, it's going to be there no matter what. So you know it. Just know what it is, and be confident enough that that's not going to bother you. Yeah,
you heard David say a while ago he went and looked at scores on Saturday night before the World FITASC.
Yeah.
So they're going to be there. Kayle knew in her game
How can you not know?
I think it's the cruelest game in the world, because not only do you have to stand beside your competitor and you know what they've shot for 20 rounds, you have to keep score for them.
That's true.
You have to flank.
Yeah, then you have to,
Yeah.
the round after, then you have to flank for him.
That's
Yeah.
part of the etiquette of the sport, right?
Yeah, but it's cruel.
And that's right. And that makes
takes
the
a mental
competition.
toughness.
That makes the competition, and the sportsmanship even that much better.
The whole thing's
Yeah.
a mental game. The whole sport's a mental game.
It's very mental. There's some very disciplined people in that game. Not to say there's not in other games as well, but it takes a lot of mental discipline. It really shows up in that game. I'll put it that way.
It's totally different. And if you, speaking from being a sporting shooter, but getting good at that game mentally is a huge asset to sporting, because I don't think there's a game that's more difficult mentally than that game. Because in my game, I can let up. I can go from 100% to 90% and not miss. If I go to 100% to 90% in that game, I drop 3.
Yeah.
And 3 on that game, I can't make up. 3 in my game, I can.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you know Brett Erickson?
yeah.
He's a 3 or 4 time Olympian, maybe. He told me a story one time that, and I think I have this right. He won the world championship. Maybe it was silver, I don't know. But anyway, he done real well at the world championship. I think he won it. And he's feeling all good about himself, and he comes back to the inter-service match, which is, I guess, the Army and the Air Force and whoever had the teams. And he says he starts not to shoot it, because he's just won a world championship or silver. He won a medal. But he decides to go ahead and shoot it. And he goes out on the bunker, just like you said, not 100%. And he shoots a 13 the first round.
After a world championship.
After a world championship. And he's a 3 or 4 time Olympian,
Yeah.
maybe 5, I don't know, a bunch. But that's how vicious that game is. You just can't let up.
No.
Not at
And
all.
you like in sporting, from station to station, you can reset. But for 25 minutes straight, you got to be in it. It's like the equivalent of what we need to be in a station, but for 25 minutes straight. And if you let loose, you're going to drop a few. Because sometimes you don't realize that you've dulled up.
It's not like straighting up. It's one thing to straight 3-pair station,
Right.
and you're like 4-pair. Whoa, I got to straight a 5-pair station.
Yeah.
Oh no, now I got to straight
25.
for 25 minutes. That's a whole.
You were talking
new
about
ballgame.
some of the practice routines and how dedicated you were today, and some of the drills that you do. I remember one day, and Kayle will probably remember this, she has a drill she does where she breaks so many straight from each station. And we had set the goal pretty high. I
What
don't
was
remember
it?
the
I'm
number.
very.
25.
Oh gosh.
Was it 25?
25.
Yeah.
25 from each station.
Yeah.
25 of each bird?
Yeah,
Each
of
bird
each
on
target.
each station.
And then we would move to, there's 15 machines. We ate lunch, but other than lunch, we were there 9.5 hours to complete that drill.
Of how many straight?
25
On each station.
on each machine. There's 3 machines per station.
Be
On
15
each
machines.
machine.
375 targets.
375 targets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
9 hours.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
a little
humbled.
over. I wanted to quit.
I'm humbled.
I couldn't shoot for like 3 days after that because my arm was so sore.
But think of all that you processed and learned. That has been one of the coolest exercises, is to go out and shoot. I had a list of 60 what I called core targets and distances. It took me 10 days though.
Yeah.
But on some days I would only shoot maybe 3 or 4 targets.
Of
But-
the 60.
Of the 60.
Yeah.
Because if it was a really hard target, I would save that for the earliest part of the day. And I didn't want to make it tougher on myself, but I knew it was going to be tough. So I'd say, okay, in that day I'm going to shoot maybe half as much, or a third as much. But it was an incredible educational event. Rather than just going out and shooting, let me shoot, 2 pairs of this and 2 pairs of this and 2 pairs of this.
Yeah.
Because to go back to back and have to shoot 10 straight, and maybe it's at 60 yards, and then to do it again, and then to do it again. But the learning that you go through when you get to 8, and so if I got to 8 out of 10, then I would start over.
Mm-hmm.
And so it does put a little bit. Then the pressure of, it's wicked in that it wants to make you, you want to say, oh, I'm going to get that 9th bird and I'm going to get the 10th, and that could push you out of the process.
Yeah.
Which, the process is what's going to give you the 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Not the will.
Right.
And so it's evil, very, 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 very evil. But then you get to learn other things too. The way you watch a target, but it becomes very different.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've thought after doing it, and it took a lot of shells. I thought about how much I actually liked it, and so then I said, okay, I want to go back and a couple of days a week or 1 day a week at least do 1 or 2. It really it just is a different dimension.
Yeah.
And I'm a young shooter.
Yeah, this is on the other end of the spectrum. But Kayle, do you remember? I was trying to teach her ownership, of the game without me involved, and she still lived at home. She would have to get all of her shooting stuff, shells, gun, vest, all that, put it in her car, drive to the range, and if you missed the first shot, we were done.
Yeah. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Really?
You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I called them go home rounds.
Yeah.
I would have to start every practice with a round of skeet, and if I missed one, I'd go home.
Yeah.
You mean missed one in the round?
Yeah, if I missed one anywhere, I'd go home. So there'd be time. I remember one time I got ready, showed up, missed the first bird, high one, and I had to go home.
Yeah.
I got to shoot 1 shell.
And you pack all that stuff up,
Yeah.
get it there, you get out and get ready. And,
Now who gave you that idea?
I don't know, but obviously we got it from somewhere because they do the same thing.
Yeah,
I vaguely
That's
remember.
pretty interesting. I have to think about that. Like mentally, it's and so on and so on.
It
and
teaches
so forth.
you to be how important that first target is.
Yeah.
Yes.
As a kid,
the hardest thing is to actually go out and continually set interesting opportunities to advance yourself, to keep yourself either on the edge or to keep yourself in a motivated state, in a continual learning process. Like it's if you're in a loop, or it's like a loop or something, and where it's deliberate practice and whatnot. I don't know. You're smiling now, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
you got to keep it interesting.
I'm sorry. I had another thought about when we're learning to take ownership of the game. Do you remember?
Here we go again. What to do this time?
So it's in Kerrville, Texas, and I'm not coach right now. I'm dad, and I'm thinking, have you got your glasses? You got your vest? You got all your shells, because she was notorious to get on the line and not have enough ammo. So she's like, Dad, I got it. I'm like, okay, all right, get it. So I'm shooting in the squad behind her. I'll follow her, and she gets about 17 or 18 shots into the round. See her start feeling of her pockets, and I told Tammy, my wife, I said, she don't have enough ammo. And I thought, oh my goodness. So I ease up to the table and just take some out of my pocket and give to her, which is you're not supposed to do, but we were young shooters, so we did. And I'm so mad. I'm just furious. And she won't look at me because she knows. She knows. She just told me.
Yelled at you.
Yeah, she just told me to stay out of it. She had it. So she comes off the line and avoids me and goes across the bunker. And I'm still just furious, and I get up, and it's my turn to shoot. and I shoot about 6 or 8 shots, and I think I give her all my ammo. I don't have enough, and I can't remember the guy from the Army, Ryan. He was flanking, and he just shook his head and he said, "Like father, like daughter," and he put shells in my pocket so I could finish. But,
oh man.
Yeah, I remember that.
You're super lucky, Kayle Browning.
Tell the story of her.
Is this a tell Kayle story time now?
Yeah, of when without telling the whole story, I don't want to give it away. But when she'd thought she forgot something, and you were at the camper. Do you remember? You know what story I'm talking about?
is this the gun?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that
Yeah.
Elm Fork?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we finished the last station, and Kayle.
How old was she?
She was probably 12,
Okay.
13. She had just gotten a Craig off.
Yeah.
And we
Brand new gun.
Yeah, brand.
Literally like second or third shoot
Yeah.
with it.
We just had a custom stock made and everything. It was nice. So we finished the last station,
I don't
and
think I had a custom. I didn't have a custom stock then.
you didn't?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, it's still nice. And she jumps on the golf cart and just takes off. And my friend Greg Hutchison looked over at me, and he points, and he's like, "Is that Kaylee's gun?" I'm like, "Yep, sure is." I said, "Why don't you take it and put it in your camper?" So I didn't say anything about it. And we have dinner, and they're playing and riding the golf carts and the things they used to do at night. I don't know what it was. And so my wife and I go to bed, and I hear her in there. She fixes her bed, and then I hear my door slide open, and I hear the sniffles, and it's like, "Dad."
The sniffle.
Yeah. She was really dreading telling me. And I said, "Yeah, what is it?" And she said, "I don't know where my gun's at." And of course I said, "You don't know where your gun is? I can't believe that." And I give her the whole spiel, and she's just crying. And I said, "Well, let's get on the golf cart and go look." So we drove around, couldn't find it. It's gone. And she's just boo-hooing. And so we get all the way back to camper. This took 45 minutes or so, I guess. And Mr. Gregg comes out and gives her a gun, and we have a long talk. And
Let me cry for an hour over it.
But
Well,
you never did it again.
yeah, she hadn't lost it since. Well, she did this year
Well,
at the Olympics.
yeah, I actually have.
You had to go
I
get it.
continue to forget it multiple times.
Oh my god! The last 25 targets you needed to make the Olympic team, you forgot your gun.
I did. I got all the way to the finals field and realized I didn't have my gun.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess the boss is telling me we got to wrap it up.
No more Kayle stories, huh?
Yeah, no more Kayle stories. We
Yeah.
told too many. Cool. Well, that was fun.
Well, thank y'all for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming
Yes.
on.
We're ready for a nightcap?
We're about ready for a nightcap.
No dessert you got wrapped up?
Yeah. You didn't tell Kayle?
No.
There's more surprises.
I didn't even know about this.
You sure?
Yeah. Maybe you told me. I don't remember.
All right. Let's turn this thing off and we're going to get to it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.